How does a world-famous rapper, one who's built a global following and formed a power couple with Rihanna, end up facing the possibility of more than 20 years behind bars? That's the question hanging over A$AP Rocky, whose trial has turned into one of the year's most gripping spectacles. From the streets of Harlem to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the path that led to these charges is packed with twists, questionable evidence, and a divided public. Some say he made a bold move by refusing a plea deal. Others insist he blew his best chance at freedom. Meanwhile, Rihanna stands by, fighting to keep it together as her partner's future hangs in the balance. Rocky's journey started in Harlem with the A$AP Mob, a tight-knit collective formed in 2006. Even before the fame and money, he carried the A$AP name as a badge of honor. Over time, he rocketed to success, claiming the spotlight with chart-topping hits and high-profile endorsements. But not everyone in the crew was satisfied. Tensions built up, particularly after the untimely passing of a fellow member. According to allegations, the spark that ignited Rocky's current legal crisis came when another A$AP affiliate, known as A$AP Rally, often shortened to REI, blamed Rocky for not covering funeral costs. That dispute allegedly escalated into a confrontation near the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Witnesses reported a heated argument, claims of a weapon being drawn, and general chaos, but the details are murky. Some shaky surveillance footage shows Rocky pulling what appears to be a gun, then tucking it away. Yet it's unclear how many shots, if any, were fired, or if the firearm was real. The lack of clarity has shaped the entire trial, leaving questions that neither side has managed to answer definitively. REI, the man at the center of the prosecution's case, didn't go to the police right away. He waited days before filing a report and presenting evidence, including shell casings he supposedly found at the scene after the police themselves had come up empty-handed. That single detail alone has fueled countless conspiracy theories. If there truly had been shots fired, how did law enforcement miss such crucial evidence? And why would REI wait before going to the authorities if his injuries, he claims a bullet grazed his knuckles, were as serious as he says? A key part of this legal battle revolves around who's telling the truth. The prosecution insists Rocky fired an actual 9mm semi-automatic pistol, while Rocky's defense contends he only used a prop gun designed to make noise. His lawyer, Joe Tacopina, explained to the jury that Rocky has experienced security threats before and sometimes carries a starter pistol to fend off potential problems without harming anyone. The prosecution, however, pointed to a 911 call from a woman claiming she saw the shooting happen. To back up their argument, they also produced a ballistics report linking Rocky to the crime. But not until the trial was well underway. That late-breaking ballistics evidence blindsided Rocky's legal team. They argued in court that they weren't given adequate time to review the findings. The judge, however, refused to postpone the proceedings, essentially handing Rocky's defense a single day to consult an expert. Such moves have people questioning the fairness of the trial. Are prosecutors stacking the deck? Is the judge really impartial? Oddly enough, there's even been chatter that the judge flirted with Rocky's mother in open court, raising eyebrows about whether personal bias could creep into such a serious case. Criticism didn't stop there. Jury selection itself became a magnet for controversy. Out of a large pool in Los Angeles, a city with a significant black population, none of the selected jurors are black. Both Rocky and REI are black men. So for many observers, the jury's composition already feels like a blow to the concept of a trial by one's peers. Civil rights leaders, including Reverend Al Sharpton, openly questioned how such a scenario could occur. He made it clear that while he doesn't claim to know every detail, he believes every citizen deserves a fair process, and that fairness might be compromised if an entire demographic is essentially excluded from deliberations. In the midst of this legal minefield, prosecutors offered Rocky what some might consider a lifeline, a plea deal. He could plead guilty to a single felony assault charge and face 6 months in jail, a 7-year suspended sentence, probation, community service, and anger management classes. Compared to the risk of a 24-year maximum sentence, it seemed like an obvious fallback plan, except Rocky said no. He's maintained his innocence from the beginning, and sources close to him argue he felt taking the deal would brand him as guilty for life. fans and legal experts alike remain split on whether rejecting the plea was wise. On the one hand, any day in jail is a huge blow for a superstar who thrives on touring, fashion collaborations, and brand deals. On the other, a felony on his record could devastate his career, hamper travel, and cause major sponsors to walk away. One insider claimed that large companies like Gucci and Puma might distance themselves if he acknowledged felony wrongdoing, even if it came with only a short stint in jail. Given that Rocky is still riding high on international recognition, gambling for a complete acquittal might be the only way to protect his professional standing. While all this unfolds, Rihanna is dealing with intense emotional pressure. She's done her best to keep public appearances calm, but insiders say it's a constant challenge. The idea of potentially losing Rocky for over 2 decades means their 2 young children would grow up without him around. Rihanna herself has endured a roller coaster of rumors. Some tabloids even claim the two were secretly married, while others suggest they're on shaky ground because of the trial's stress. But despite any public speculation, the only certainty is that she's caught in an emotionally draining ordeal with an uncertain outcome. Meanwhile, people can't help but draw parallels to the Tory Lanez saga. Tory's case also revolved around a high-profile shooting allegation. Initially, it looked like he had a real chance to avoid severe punishment, but as evidence piled up, the tide turned against him. He ended up with a harsh sentence, a full 10 years. Some watchers are nervous that Rocky's trial could follow a similar pattern, that unexpected evidence or testimony might suddenly shift the momentum in court. But the differences are also striking. Tory's public image took a beating after widespread social media condemnation, whereas Rocky benefits from long-standing goodwill and sympathy, partly due to his relationship with Rihanna. Still, none of those outside influences guarantee a favorable verdict. Court cases ultimately revolve around tangible evidence and a jury's reading of the facts. It doesn't help that the prosecution introduced that mysterious ballistics report so late. If the data truly implicates Rocky, he'll have to dismantle it piece by piece, and doing so under time pressure is no small feat. If it's inconclusive or riddled with inconsistencies, it might only strengthen his stance that the case lacks a solid foundation. Through all this, the internet remains deeply divided. Some individuals label REI a smitch, claiming he's out to extort Rocky rather than seek justice. Others say Rocky, if he did pull the trigger, even as a warning, must be held accountable. This back-and-forth debate has sparked heated conversations on social platforms, creating a swirl of rumors and half-truths. It's also dredged up old tensions within the ASAP mob, with some members choosing sides and airing internal disagreements in public. As the trial progresses, the tension in the courtroom is almost tangible. The prosecution aims to prove beyond any doubt that Rocky committed a violent act with a real firearm. The defense counters that no bullet truly harmed REI. No shell casings were found until REI himself magically discovered them, and that the alleged 9mm never turned up during a police raid. Everyone seems to have a different interpretation of what happened on that fateful day near the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Behind the scenes, Rocky's legal team is working overtime to poke holes in every piece of evidence and testimony. They've questioned REI's motives, reminding the jury that he filed his police report only after leaving town and that he's changing his story every time he's challenged. They also emphasized how quickly he went to social media, which many people see as an attempt to stir public drama rather than seek genuine help. Meanwhile, the prosecution leans heavily on REI's injuries, the sudden confrontation, and any ballistic proof they can muster, painting Rocky as a star whose fame has led to recklessness and arrogance. One point that can't be overlooked is how critical timing is. The judge's refusal to grant extra days to evaluate the ballistics report puts Rocky's side on the defensive. If they can't debunk it in time, the jury may well see it as the smoking gun. On the other hand, if the defense successfully demonstrates that the evidence is inconsistent, contrived, or outright incorrect, the prosecution could look desperate for a conviction. With each new court session, social media buzz intensifies, and so does the speculation over what the final verdict might be. The uncertainty surrounding all these threads is precisely what keeps the public riveted. A superstar father risking decades in prison, a partner who happens to be one of the world's biggest pop icons, and a courtroom drama replete with accusations of bias. Whether you see Rocky as a victim of betrayal or a figure who let success go to his head, there's no denying the stakes are huge. Every time a new piece of evidence surfaces, the narrative shifts, reminding everyone that this trial is as unpredictable as it is consequential. At this point, the real question is whether the defense can effectively neutralize the prosecution's claims. Will Rocky's stance that the gun was merely a starter pistol used to protect himself stand up to legal scrutiny? Or will the absence of a single black juror, the late-breaking ballistic evidence, and REI's testimony collectively push the jury to deliver a guilty verdict? Rocky's decision to reject the plea deal has already sealed his fate as someone willing to gamble everything on proving his innocence. If he succeeds, it'll be a monumental victory. If not, the consequences could change his life forever. In the end, the story boils down to conflicting testimonies, questionable evidence, and the unpredictable nature of a high-profile trial. With Rihanna watching anxiously and supporters on both sides convinced they hold the moral high ground, the outcome remains anyone's guess. Maybe more evidence will surface. Perhaps a witness will change their story, or the ballistics report will fail to stand up to scrutiny. Until we know for sure, all we can do is follow each new revelation and brace ourselves for the final verdict. So what do you think? Does Rocky have a legitimate shot at beating these charges, or is he heading down a path that ends with a prison sentence rivaling Tory Lanez's? Let me know your thoughts and stay tuned. We'll keep tracking every development, twist, and surprise in this ongoing courtroom battle. One thing is certain, the stakes are sky high, and nobody, not Rocky, not Rihanna, not even the judge, knows exactly how this will play out once the final gavel sounds.